Getting to the money, I be getting to the back. People think I'm funny cause I always make them laugh. I ain't even being funny, I be really spitting facts. I'm about balance and I got talents. Every challenge I overcome. Low key is savage, never be average. Give me a task and I'll get it done. Minding my business whenever I come in. I'm handling business while I'm having fun. I ain't worried about winning, but that would be dumb cause there's no competition. I already won, huh? Yeah.
Peace, 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 family. How you all doing? I hope all is well with you. My name is Keisha. I'm the owner of Astrologics, and I am your astrology coach. Today, I will be discussing Uranus moving into Gemini. Now, I already did a video about this, the history and all that other stuff. If you really want to go back and check that out, you can. This video specifically, I'm going to be focusing on how this can change, work, how we work, our daily routine. This is going to be a big deal. So this video might be a little bit longer than normal. Be patient with me as I get through it, but we gotta set the tone for how this could possibly be affecting a lot of people, how we work. I did talk a lot about this back in 2022. A lot of these themes can be pretty repetitive as far as entrepreneurship goes. But it looks like we're going to be going through another surge of stepping into the shoes of entrepreneurship. So Uranus will move into Gemini on July 7th, and it'll be there until 2023. The reason I chose to do this video, aside from the fact that it's moving in there, is that I seen an announcement for both Amazon and Microsoft. It was about a week ago now, announced that they're replacing employees with AI. And a lot of the times when you have big changes like that, other companies tend to follow suit. And these are jobs that, most people are really interested in, that they really want, especially if you're somebody who went to college and has a college degree. There'll be fewer of them available if other companies decide to move forward with making this change. So this is going to be a huge change in our culture and our values when it comes to how we work. And employers will start looking for more skilled workers, like plumbers, electricians, roofers, gardeners, journeymen, any kind of skills trade, because they can't be replaced with AI, at least, not now. We'll see. Another thing we'll have to worry about with this big change is education. The education that we've been learning over the last decade has conditioned us to be consumers and rely on strugglenomics. And a lot of these types of jobs that can come with this Uranus transit, as well as Neptune and Saturn and Aries and Pluto and Aquarius, a lot of these jobs are like, they're not 9 to 5 necessarily. They're more innovative jobs. And they're more like contractor jobs. So you have to have some kind of business savviness in order to know how to get other resources and benefits out of these types of jobs. Not all, but a pretty big portion of them will. And so it looks like we're moving out of globalization and more into nationalism, because a lot of the jobs that we have right now usually require, if you call up a tech support person, you're getting somebody from like India or Mumbai or Hawaii or something, really far or outside of the country. But now a lot of these changes will require us to be more, to host a lot of these jobs for this country or the people in this country. And it can bring a lot of joy to people, I think. Anybody who had a really good turnout for 2020 can relate to this because you're doing the work that you love, right? It allows you to make money doing what you actually love. And so, um, it's a positive thing, but if you're not good at money, if you don't have a business sense, there's volatility in the work market. Aquarius jobs are like seasonal jobs, jobs that you might do half the year, but then you don't do it another half of the year, or you only do it on the weekends. They're not 9 to 5 jobs, and they don't come with the 9 to 5 resources. And so people are really, really, really going to have to learn how to support themselves through those other modalities outside of a 9 to 5 workplace. And I don't think all jobs are going to be like this, but again, um, it could be a pretty big problem for a lot of people, which is going to force us to downsize in some way, and do more like communal living spaces, trailer homes, you know, or businesses that work like Uber, where you use your own resources to like rent it out, borrow, bartering, but through an app, you're doing a service in that kind of way. And I'll talk a little bit more about what exactly all those things are and how you can, start tapping into those things. Um, but again, um, yeah, it's going to be a pretty huge cultural shift, and it could happen more quickly than we expect with Uranus, because Uranus is fast moving, Gemini is fast moving, Pluto in Aquarius is fast moving, Aries is fast moving. The only thing that's really saving us from it not being so fast moving between those three signs are the planets that they're in. Pluto's not that fast. And Neptune is not that fast. Um, and then you have retrogrades, of course. But outside of that, these things could literally happen almost seemingly overnight. So that's just something to keep in mind. There will be a lot of very, very fast moving changes taking place. Another thing you want to look at in reference to how to deal with some of these financial changes is taking the lessons you learned from from Uranus being in Taurus for the last 7 years. What did you learn? And I think I did a video on that, family. Don't correct me, but again, this video really isn't really about talking about the astrology as much as it is about just informing people on different jobs, idea jobs, places and spaces where you can go to make money with this particular energy. And also Pluto being in Aquarius will require us to support ourselves through these types of benefits. You have to remember Taurus and Scorpio are an axis, and Pluto is the ruler of Scorpio. This is your money axis. Okay, and so any way you want to go to look for money, how to deal with money, how to manifest money, and these such things you get from this access. And so keeping that in mind is we do have a lot of support there. Again, you really want to look at your Taurus and Scorpio area of life on your birth chart. This will also help you figure out how you personally make money, what you're good at, what you might need to learn, reassess, reevaluate, change, be a little bit more open to, or double down on throughout this next 7 years. If you didn't do it while, Uranus was already in Taurus. But there had to have been some lesson that you learned around money, work, how you work, side hustles, savings, investing, retirement, and other financial resources. So, some of the things that could help you to start really work on is maintaining good credit. Whether, wherever your credit is at this time, I try not to dwell on whether it's good or bad, just start working on it. And they have a bunch of different apps out there that are super easy for you to work through and learn how to do it within like 3 months, maybe even less. But of course, you have to pay a fee for that. So you could do it the long way or the short way. Either way, as long as you're working towards changing what your credit is or where you stand with your credit, you're on the right track. And this is because it gives you access to money, right? So you can have access to get loans and borrowing and things of that nature, right? Learning any kind of financial literacy is going to help you understand how to make money through investing, like buying a home, starting a home business or a family business, or just a business in general. Which means you might have to learn sales, right? Because sales teaches you how to create a product that people want, no, that people need, something that is of need for people, and get out there and sell it. That is very Gemini energy. And you'll have the support to do that if you already have a product, and or to help you think of products that people might need so that you can get out there, set up a platform for it, or get out, do some footwork and start networking around, getting yourself around people who need that product and selling it. Which could mean that there will be a lot of, we might see a lot more markets, especially in the neighborhood, or like events with vendors and things of that nature for people to have opportunities to sell things that they've created, and it being a need for people to have access to buy more of. Also, making sure you're partnering with people that match your same interests and what it is you're trying to build. That can also help you network. Two is always better than one. And having more people, building an economy around whatever it is you're building. So let's say, for example, a lot of the work that you do requires you to stay home, but your marketing takes place out in the street. So you need to have somebody who can get out there and market for you, or you need a marketing plan online to be able to help you bring in more people. Telling people every chance that you get about what it is that you do. Finding ways, places, and spaces where you can do that. But a group of people who can help you benefit in whatever it is you're trying to grow or build, to help you succeed. If you're doing it by yourself, you are going to struggle. It's going to be a lot harder, and it might take a little longer. And there is no right or wrong way, but having a good network is very beneficial. And that's literally what Aquarius and Gemini are really all about, is network, especially Aquarius. Aquarius is your networks around you and the people who you choose specifically to be your networks. Gemini is more of networking for the sake of networking, Again, having good salesmanship, and this is the person that goes around. I don't give a damn if you're going to the store. You bring your damn product with you and you let people know, or you're wearing it, or, whatever that process is that you figure out for yourself is, it's just very Gemini energy where you have the opportunity to talk about what it is you do and provide an opportunity for yourself to sell your products. Um, yeah. Um, and making sure you're nourishing those relationships. So if you have somebody who does something for you that helps you for your business, you should be mindful to make sure that you're doing the same for those people. Nourishing your networks is important to building an economy around whatever it is you're building. Taurus is all about economics, period. No matter how you chop and screw it up, Taurus rules economics. This could also be about your children and making sure that you're saving and investing for your children at a very young age, obviously for yourself too. You should always have 7 streams of income, wherever they're coming from, making sure you're feeding those investments, pouring into them, paying them, and things of that nature. Um, mm, yes, because this builds financial security. And so, just an example about the importance of build saving and investing. Something comes up, the rainy day fund, down the line. You might not want to be at a job that you're at. Financial security helps you not stay in that situation. You want to start your own business, but those first 5 years are going to be brutal. Financial security helps support you throughout that 5 year process. You'll have money. It's money to live off of, and just in case something happens. With Pluto or Scorpio, we're talking about retirement funds, insurance, um, um, there's so many different kinds of insurances. Again, I've talked about these topics 1,000 times. If you've been following me, you know. But do your research, study, get on the phone with a financial planner. They can help you with all of these things. But a retirement fund, you do not have to have a job to have a retirement fund. There are retirement companies out there that do retirement funds for you outside of your 9 to 5 job. Start investing in those. Get on the phone with somebody, talk to them, and feed into that. Start that process. Also for life insurance, after you pass or whatever. I'm sorry, guys, I don't know why this. For when you pass away, there's a whole process that goes with that to make sure that you're planning for your legacy after you leave here. Are you leaving them with more bills, or are you setting them up for the possibility to pay for all of their whatever they need for that process, the burial and all that, and then some. There are ways that you can do that. And then physical and mental health, which is, working out, exercising, having a counselor or a mentor, somebody you could talk to, lean on, a confidant, somebody who can help you through tough times. Um, and then obviously, um, let's get into the actual transit. So Uranus is the planet of sudden change and rebellion, innovation, upheaval, freedom. It rules electricity, politics, your friendships. Um, it helps you change unstuck patterns, patterns that no longer serve you. That is the real purpose of Uranus. That's why most people call it the Great Awakener, is because it will come and shake up your whole world enough to get you to get out of your own way, to try something different, to do things differently, to think differently, think outside the box, think authentically. And it wants freedom in the way that it does that, which, on a practical level without being too crazy with it, it's like sovereignty, so all these topics that I just explained, although I got to be honest, Aquarius actually gives zero fucks about money, riches, and all of that, but just a place to lay their head really is what they really care about. They do not care about the confines of a home or anything of that. They are perfectly okay with living on the streets. It's more authentic to them because they're not confined to, whatever, this world is selling, that you have to have a home because they're really not within the belief of living within the ecosystem that this country has built, or any country for that matter. But um, sovereignty, in a way, is about being financially free. That's somebody that doesn't have these kind of worries about what's going to happen the next day because they have a backup plan. And let me mind you, an Aquarius person can be an entire homeless person and be the richest person on earth. You would never know. You would never know. And so, it's not what you do, it's how you do it. It's just about living in a way that makes you happy, whatever that is. But still being practical enough to have the things that you want and need for survival, whatever that means to you. And so this is freedom of the mind. When we're talking about Gemini, Gemini rules, your ideas, your thoughts, and communication. This could be fast electric ideas and communication, having a pen or recording yourself, because you might not remember. It might come and go so fast. Um, like I promise you, the energy is going to speed up real quick. Um, but we might see a lot of changes when it comes to energy, anything to do with energy or electricity. Um, Sudden changes in um, anything to do with Gemini themes, which again is education, commerce, sales, apps, phones, texting, um, devices, even electronics, um, websites, algorithms. Good Lord, have mercy on social media platforms, the way we communicate, um, and the way we share our ideas. These can definitely be quirky ideas to very innovative and outside of the box ideas, future forward ideas, and they will be solution based. The air signs are about solutions, um, which is great. I really look forward to seeing how some of this is going to play out on the positive, but there will be some bad too. Um, People are going to become more curious and inquisitive. We'll be keeping an open mind and becoming and asking questions, digging for information, becoming way more chatty, especially with our neighbors and in our local neighborhoods. Being adaptable. Gemini is a mutable sign, and quick-witted. Um, Again, connecting with others and networks, especially through apps, um, just because of that trine to Pluto. But there is also a grassroots perspective that Aquarius has, which I will be doing after this another video on Pluto and Aquarius and the jobs that come with that. I will focus on the astrology a little bit more in that video because I don't think I've really done it, but I have been holding off on having this. I've taken notes. I've been really working through a lot of some of the different ways that this can be playing out. And this could be considered like a part two to this video, but I wanted to talk about it more in depthly because I think it's super important from that astrological perspective. Um, but Aquarius and Gemini do both have a grassroots um, dynamic to it as well, because Gemini rules the streets, footwork, um, walking, cycling, and things of that nature. And Aquarius is all about, again, an ecosystem. Aquarius is the ecosystem. On the negative, it's groupthink. You know, it's the world I think we kind of see now where everybody's doing what everybody else is doing, but that's because America's built off of an economy in such a way where, you know, if you want to sell your ass on on you know, what is the app they have? I can't even think of a name right now. Um as a way to make money. Let's just say that, you know, it supports that because there are other people out there doing it. There are movies on it. There are things that are where we can see on a regular basis that directly affect the decisions that we make on a daily basis. This is very low vibrational Aquarius energy, right? If you change your ecosystem to helping people deal with their trauma, well, now you have a group of people who go to counseling. They have um, spiritual meetings and group therapy and things of this nature. It really just depends on what it is, what kind of ecosystem are you growing. And America's really isn't the most positive, but we have an opportunity to change that now. Well, we'll see how that goes. I think on the world stage it's going to be more technological driven, but on a people, you know, in people's everyday lives, you can build your ecosystem however you want. I hope that made sense. But I think we could see a new LinkedIn. That's also very Aquarian. Um, Gemini rules movement, transportation, and learning, just to name a few things. Studying, reading, writing, training programs, vocations, doing things with your hands, very mechanical. Um, it also rules childhood education. So grades, I believe it's 3 through 8 or 7. So we can see a lot of changes around that for sure. Aunts, uncles, siblings, nieces, nephews. Um, again, the way you think, the way you communicate, cars, um, your daily routine, like the errands that you run. Um, yeah, I feel like I can say more about that, but I think, you know, that gives you a rough idea of what Gemini rules. Um, it lives in the third house and it's ruled by Mercury. So we have to look at Virgo. Virgo being in the South Node is going to be huge. And I'll talk just briefly about that, but we have, you know, a whole year and some change to talk about Virgo themes, but I am going to incorporate some of those themes in just a second here, as well as where Mercury is when it's transiting, when Gemini is going to be moving into Uranus, which is Leo. Mercury being in Leo is huge because that is the other sign that can be about, you know, your projects, creativity, the things that you're working on, love and romance, dating, relationships, your sex life. Fifth house is children, pregnancy, and sports, vacations, um, and um, you know your expression, your self-expression and how you express yourself. It's kind of like the actor, and you kind of get to pick, your character for this time. What role are you going to be playing in all of this? Which I think, when you think about it from that perspective, it's going to be very childlike, upbeat, um, and excitable, but also it's going to be changing and challenging the dynamics of how we lead in whatever this is for those people who are already out there doing what they're doing. And how do we market that? How do we make that the story as opposed to the story that they might be trying to sell, which is, the world's falling, the sky is falling, and I don't want to be too pie in the sky. There's going to be real life shit happening and the possibility for real life shit to be happening. And a very real reason to be on alert. However, I did a video on that too, with Neptune and Saturn being in Aries, talking about preparedness, making sure you have a backup plan just in case some stuff goes on. From a very Aries perspective, is like a first aid kit, making sure like, if something goes down, a meeting place for your family, a exit plan, and things of that nature are going to be very real topics. I'm not trying to downplay them, but I don't think that you should allow those things to control your life. I remember when I think I talked about this was it the Gemini video or was it the Saturn and Aries video? I can't really remember. It might have even been something years ago that I was talking about. Somebody was talking about the Revolutionary War and having conversations after the fact, asking people, what was their experience like when that was going on, specifically to a Black family. And I remember the lady responding, like, we didn't even know we was in war. We were broke before the war started. So to us, nothing really changed. It's not funny, but I like that perspective by way of not letting this affect you. Um, we're kind of already at the bottom. So don't see this as you're going to fall further down, but try to make some building blocks and elevate yourself. If you get knocked down, well, obviously that's a time to stop and reassess your plan, make sure everybody's safe, etc. Being very practical and realistic about what it is you're building in a time that could be considered quite volatile. But don't let it stop you, right? Um, don't let it control and take over your whole life. And so I think those are going to be very, very real things. But yeah, I think we can see a lot of like small pods. Um, and all pods are like, I mean, when you think of setting up an event on Zoom that you can invite a certain number of people to, it's like a class. It's just like a small class for people who are interested in whatever particular topic that you're, like a small training program. Um, but I think pods would be something considered in the community, like small places and spaces and areas where you can teach something that people might be interested in that they can come and attend. Of course, this can be online as well. Like I can only imagine there's going to be a massive tech or technological boom with this, just like it did in 2020. I think Zoom even had to upgrade some way, somehow, when this happened back in 2020, because everybody started doing like Zoom meetings. This could also be like small pods, as in educational programs. Um, small communities of educational programs. I do think we're going to see a spike in trainers, tutors, teachers doing small, kind of facilitating a lot of these different opportunities. This could be, again, new ways to think and communicate and learn freely. We're kind of reinventing how we connect. Information will speed up. In AI, I think it'll be a global uprising around these types of things, and people not really super being, um, for it, which, I tend to agree with. And I've talked about that in other videos. Um, be careful for mental overload and tech glitches. I think we'll see a lot of, again, social media apps, texts, emails evolving quite quickly. Um, a lot of human robots. That's obviously a huge topic of discussion. Um, and with Pluto and Aquarius, Uranus and Gemini, I kind of see this as like, how they say, when you, like, if you're thinking of somebody and they call, they always relate this type of specific dynamic to Aquarian people, where they're very telepathic that way. Um, and we can experience a lot of that, or even the possibility with Neptune and Aries trining both Uranus and Gemini and Pluto Aquarius, um, having dreams about particular things happening and then they actually happen on fleek. I think people will start to think they're like either they're manifestors or super manifestors, or like um what do they call those, seers, or people who make like big predictive events in the world. I believe they're called psychics, but whatever. Companionship will be a huge thing. Learning and writing from robots, homeschooling and learning online can evolve quite quickly. And then major weather events like tornadoes and heavy winds, even record winds. Uranus is like record winds, like the tallest person in the world, the oldest person in the world, um, the person who ran like the fastest or something like that. What is that? World's Guinness records. That's such an Aquarian theme. And so we can see a lot of, pretty gnarly weather reports like such. And really anything to do with any of these topics where it's like the first time ever type of thing, or the longest running type of thing. Politics can change. Debates can get a little crazy, but there will be an uprising in grassroots efforts. We might focus more on local communities and neighborhoods. Even your local communities and neighborhoods can change quite drastically over this 7-year period of time. Major changes when it comes to newspapers, blogs, magazines, radio, to something more interactive. When I was thinking about this, I was thinking of like Sesame Street and Reading Rainbow, because Gemini is childhood education. And there's always like, I don't know why, and maybe I'm off, where it could be very Harry Potterish too, where like the words rise up from, the way we visualize it might be a little bit more innovative and different. But I'm trying to stay really like away from technology by saying that we might resort back to some of those old school ways of learning, like we did in Reading Rainbow in Sesame Street, where it's very like singing a song, or putting a beat to it, or clapping out syllables or something to that effect. TV media and networks can shut down and transition to more streaming networks and independent media for sure. I don't remember what movie was that I was watching where something had happened and everybody pulled out their fucking phone. Everybody's going to become an independent media network. um, Massive changes to car salesmen, the car whole entire process system business, whatever, trains, transportation in general is in for a very technological upgrade. Post office, mail, Gemini rules post office, mail can change to like drones or, I don't know, little robot things freaking mailing you stuff. Um, this could be new comedians, improv, trivia, and game shows. Even authors, poets, researchers, teachers, tutors, trainers. Again, I talked a little bit about that. Pilots, flight attendants, Uber drivers, salesmen, negotiators, marketers, event planners, freelancers, freelancer sites. I think Upwork is one, and Fiverr. I think we can see some drastic changes there, or a lot more people moving on to those platforms. Data, data analysts, and even block parties, get-togethers, especially with Jupiter and Cancer as get-togethers, but siblings, it's family. But it doesn't have to be family. It could be the family you choose and or business opportunities, networking events, and things of that nature. I think we'll see a lot of those things coming back, perhaps. Um, some things that we have to really keep in mind during this transit is that Uranus in Gemini is in America's chart. So America's having a Uranus return, which ups the ante for a lot of these changes. Again, we can look back to the Revolutionary War, World War II, and World War III, to see what kind of things change and how drastically things change, and we can expect the same thing. On the world stage, we're going to see a lot of workplace changes happening quite quickly. But again, ultimately, we're breaking free of traditional programming. And again, this transit will also trine Saturn and Neptune. Saturn rules walls, building walls, and Uranus wants to break them down. Neptune wants to dissolve boundaries, which could also be like breaking down walls. Yeah, I think we should be careful for the lower expression of this, which could be like depression, feeling defeated, giving up. And Neptune can be like illusions and not seeing things clearly, or having like a big dream but no practical plan. That's where you really want to tap into your Taurus and Scorpio area of life, to help keep your dreams realistic. Saturn is going to require it. We have to look at Virgo. I did talk about that earlier. And Virgo is also ruled by Mercury, and it lives in the sixth house. It literally rules the workforce. But Virgo jobs outside of the actual workforce are like service jobs. So I think I did talk about this. I think that was I think that was on my other channel, but it's like hiring people for different services. So like there are two websites one is called care.com and Sitter City, and I've talked about these on here before. Sitter City is more so just babysitting, although I do think they have other services on there, but I think it's really, really about babysitting. But care.com is a much wider spectrum. They have cleaning people that you can hire. Cleaning people meaning you can literally set up an account on care.com and tell people that you are looking for somebody to help you clean your house for like 2 hours a day, or 2 days a week for 2 hours. You can pick your own schedule, however you want to do it. And professional cleaning people, or people who just like fucking cleaning. I think that's the beautiful thing about it, is you don't have to have no extracurricular. You can simply set up a profile that talks about just how much you like cleaning, whether you have credentials or not, doesn't really matter. And you hire these people to come in and clean your house. You can do the daycare stuff as well. And when I say daycare, I'm really talking about like the smaller services. Like if you're a single mom you don't have a car, or you do have a car, but you work from 9 to 5. You can hire someone to pick up your child from school, bring them to whatever aftercare programs that you want to have your children in, and pick them up from there to bring them back home. They can do homework, they can do light um, cleaning around the house, or making sure that your child is fed, and small little things like that. I know there's like 1,000 people right now, like, I would never, but they do have like a system to check whether people are like crazy or not when it comes to that particular service. It's up to you. I've used it both on care.com and sittercity.com. Um, it's very well known in the public school system. So a lot of these people are teachers, they are caretakers, they've been in this field for a very long time, but you can choose whatever you want. I'm just giving you examples. But it's very helpful. It's very, very helpful. And I've never had any problems. They've all been very, very good to me. And it's very helpful. Especially for me, it wasn't that I didn't have a car, but I lived in Randolph and I worked in Boston. There was no way I was getting off of work at 5 to pick up my son by 5 from Boston to Randolph. So, um, things of that nature, these things are really, really, really good for. And then you pay that person. You guys can agree on a pay scale. It doesn't have to be something extreme, but whatever that agreement is, you have everything in writing right there on that site. There is no reneging. I've never heard anybody have any troubles with any of this stuff. And so that's another service. So cleaning, caretaking, if you have kids with like mental health things, you can have tutors come in who specialize in that. It's actually, I think it's called, is that like day? Um, it's like those nursing homes, but they're like day nursing homes where you just take those particular people out who aren't very mobile to do events, to go out and have fun, take them shopping, to, I don't know, Canopy Lake. I don't know what these people do. There's that. Someone to go shopping for you, um, run errands for you. Um, what else? I mean, I feel like there's so much more, but you can go on there and look for yourself. Oh, home sitters, pet sitters. Um, I said cleaning, but I don't think I was specific about like just cleaning your car. Little small tasks that you might not be able to get done on a regular basis, Virgo, daily routines, daily habits, um, that you might need help with. You can hire a service through these apps to do it. This could even grow quite tremendously um, during this time, or it can just be another way where you get extra money. Did I say house sitting? Yeah, summer camp, summertime. Could you imagine having somebody in your house taking care of your children for the whole entire summer? Teachers do this. It's like a real freaking thing. I learned it from my sister who's a teacher. She was the one who put me onto the app, and she does it every summer because teachers don't work during the summer. A lot of them don't, not all, but some. And so they have to find other things to do. If you're not facilitating some kind of after school program, a summer program, where are you getting the money for the summer? And so this is something that they came up with. I don't know who they are, by the way, but it is a very reliable source that teachers use throughout the summer to continue receiving income. So it's a very real thing. It's not janky. It's a good site. I like it. I like it a lot. I think it's an awesome opportunity. So I can talk about these things all day, but I just wanted to make this video and have this kind of conversation about opportunities and other options than the doom and gloom that I think, it's going to hit us. Some people are going to really struggle with this, whether you're in an actual real struggle or not. It could be mental and emotional struggle with Neptune and Saturn together. You could just be feeling lost and depressed, like you don't know what you want to do. You don't know what avenue you want to go down. Like you can feel lost. You can feel at an impasse. It's very much energy of like, I'm getting ready to retire. What the fuck am I going to do with the rest of my life? It's really a good time to take time and reflect and sit. Don't stay in the depression or sadness, but use it to plan. Use that downtime to plan your next steps, build your ecosystem around you, get really grounded and solid in your research and the things that you want to build and create, and then go at it. And try not to let the world bring your energy down. You know what I'm saying? As usual, fam, I love and appreciate you. I hope you found this information helpful. Peace.